warning earlier on. At this point, that has eased off from that tornado warning that was in Greenbrier County, and we're still looking at plenty of heavy rainfall making its way across the highlands, but nothing with that same intensity of wind or intensity of rotation that we were looking at early on. Lots of yellows and oranges showing up as opposed to greens on the light end or reds on the heavy end. Moving further towards the NRV, there is still some rainfall going on there, but with fills looking at a lot less than what we've had in the last few hours, so it's starting to ease up on that western edge. Once those counties start to dry out, that'll be the process that continues further towards the east. So next will be the Highlands and Roanoke. Those will be the next spots to dry out. Lynchburg and Southside will be the last spots. But it looks like by midnight, a lot of the rain is taken care of. And after today, we've got a lot of calm weather in store. So zooming way back out again, we were taking a look at the velocity. Remember, it was pretty intense looking with that big line that we were seeing just towards the north of Martinsville. And then there's also some winds going in different directions as you get towards that South Boston system to go with the heavier lightning. Further towards the north, there's not a lot of organized difference in velocity or wind speed rather. And that means there's not a good indication of rotation, which is good. It means our weather is a little bit calmer than it was earlier on. Let's look at another indicator that can be really useful as to how high the storms are rising, which are the echo tops. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the most intense storm with the highest windfall, or highest wind speeds rather, has got some of the more intense echo tops. The storms are really high just to the south of Smith Mountain Lake, so stretching really, really high up into the atmosphere. That gives a lot of room for air to rise and then fall back down. That's kind of a good indication of hail too, since there is more energy to allow those clouds to rise, get some water to freeze, have it fall, and then rise back up again because of the strength of that rising air. Further towards the southeast, they're also starting to appear orange and even into that dark orange category towards South Boston. So those are some particularly high spots too. I wouldn't be surprised with either of these if we get some hail reports in the next few hours. Meanwhile, further towards the north, those storm heights are staying a little bit lower, so not looking as intense as you get that far up. We still have our severe thunderstorm watch for the next few hours that lasts until 10 p.m. for most of our counties, that northern edge towards Nelson and Amherst County and into the northern part of the Highlands. Those are the spots that aren't in the severe thunderstorm watch, but we've had tornado warnings in Greenbrier County, so it goes to show that we can still have some severe weather even outside of the watch. You want to make sure you are checking in with us all the way through 10 p.m. We'll make sure to let you know if anything is developing or headed towards your region. Storm Prediction Center kept a lot of our region in the yellow risk for today, as well as some counties on that western edge in the orange region, because more of the storm activity was concentrated that far towards the west, especially moving through Kentucky and then towards Bristol. They had a lot more tornado warnings than what we've seen, but even with our relatively less intense risk, we were still able to see quite a bit of that activity developing. Looking out a little bit further through the region, the level 3 risk was concentrated right above us, but level 2 extended pretty far down towards the south into North Carolina and Tennessee. So North Carolina still has a few hours to deal with storms, and then some of those even into Georgia. Tomorrow, it's a very different story. Severe weather staying either towards our south or to the west. So Wednesday starts a calm stretch, and that's going to last through Thursday, Friday. There's a couple showers on Saturday, but they're pretty light. And even going into next week, we've got some nice weather. Through the next couple hours, I think the main threat that we've got is still wind gusts. That's what we've been looking at through a lot of the afternoon into the evening. That's where what most of our storm reports have been. Large hail is also possible with those particularly tall storms. And when we've got the hail combined with the wind, especially around Smith Mountain Lake, Rocky Mount, that can be a recipe for some big problems. We've had some tornado warnings that were indicated by radar. The Weather Service will go out to analyze, see if there was any damage done by those. And flooding is not looking particularly likely. Taking a look at visibility right now. Blacksburg, Lewisburg have some low visibility. Same thing in Martinsville, which tends to be one of our lowest for this evening, but nowhere's below a quarter mile. I wouldn't exactly recommend going for a long drive, and Martinsville's actually improved a little bit in the last stretch, but either way, these visibilities aren't supremely limited. If you're looking out your window, having a look towards the clouds and want to send in some pictures towards our Pin It page, stay safe, but go to WSLS.com/pins and send us those pictures of what you can see out of your window. It really helps us get a view as to how the storms are shaping. And then tomorrow, when we're reviewing the storms, when Chris is here in the morning, we can get a good idea of what they were able to do damage-wise. Let's take a little bit of a tour around the region with our tower cams. A lot of our temperatures are similar across the area, although some of the the spots that did have a little bit of extra sunshine during the day were able to warm up more. In Wytheville, we've got a good amount of cloud cover. Same thing in Roanoke, although that's definitely thicker. Martinsville, we've got some of those thick greenish blue clouds even, giving a pretty good indication to the intensity that we've got right now. Wind is blowing around the trees as that system comes through. Remember, that was the one with the highest wind at the northern edge, was coming through Rocky Mount towards Smith Mountain Lake. Now, as that makes it through Martinsville, it's really tearing those trees around and can cause some damage as it is. So make sure you're being careful through the next few hours. Roanoke, it's mostly coming down as rain with some lightning right now. And Wytheville, it's starting to ease up. There's not a lot of rainfall left over that far towards the west, and temperatures are starting to cool on the backside of this front. To take a little bit closer look towards Blacksburg, which is another one of those spots where we did have some intense rainfall earlier on, you can even see the sun setting mixed in with the clouds. So it goes to show that there is a pretty big difference. In Port Mountain, around Roanoke, we've got a good amount of cloud cover and some limited visibility, but even here, the wind is still enough to blow the trees around a little bit. So all throughout the region, even if it's not the absolute highest winds that we've got with that one particular storm, there's still high enough to cause some issues. All right, we're looking at the end of our system for right now. So we are going to, I'm going to show you the radar one more time just to show you where our rainfall is, mostly concentrated towards the south along that North Carolina border. If you have any questions, reach out to us on Facebook in particular. That's the best way to get them to us. We'll make sure to keep you updated until this system heads all the way off towards the east.